Okay, so I had to take a little break there. The GoPro was heating up and it just shut off on me. But just to pick up, I'm just going around right now and just rounding this off and getting this up under the hat a little bit. And actually got a little bit more to go, and we can start taking out that inside. But for the most part, you guys can go back and shape your pumpkin, get him all shaped up, and I'll probably do a lot of finishing off camera, as I've done on some parts of it, just because it takes a while. And like I said before, I like to carve up against me, but I think I pretty much got it down to where, other than just cleaning up around under the hat and finishing shaping the hat a little bit, I took a little more off. As you can see, I'm kind of getting that swoop up in there, cleaning this up a little bit. I'm going to thin this out just a little bit more on this side to kind of match this side a little bit. Got to shape this top up a little bit just by going around and rounding off the edges and rounding off the bottom a little bit. But most of you guys that's been watching my videos, probably to the point where you can pretty much do a lot of that without watching me make every move. But pretty much I'm just going to round these off a little bit, clean them all up underneath, and yeah. But what I kind of want to get to is showing you guys how to get the inside cleaned out and how I went about doing it. But it was important that you have it pretty much rounded where you want it. Now I went back in, I took the rest of the paper off of there just so I can see, and then I took my little detail knife here and I went in and I just went around all my little grooves just so I can cut that in, because once I start cleaning the inside out, it's going to be important for me to push through there and find my way through the inside of that wood. So I wanted to kind of get this little outlines on here, and even after I got it broke through, I can still come back here and round this up a little bit more, and then just keep cleaning it out till I get it to where I like it. But I'm pretty much got my shape. We're still a little flat on this side. We'll probably take a little more off right here just to get it a little more round looking. And I'm always just working up towards the bottom of that hat. That's why I haven't really spent time on getting all that cleaned up. That'll probably be the last thing I do, is clean all the rough spots up. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. We can probably take a little more off of this side right here. It's good to get it to where you want it before you start cleaning all the inside out, because once the inside's cleaned out, you know, you only got a little bit that you can take off before you go through the other side. Same way on the back side here. Clean this all off, but once I get it shaped up, I can just come back here and just keep working my way towards the centers and the backs. And then I can just come in here and take a little more off this way, take a little more off this way. And just by doing that, I'll get rid of this flat looking spot right here on this side, because I actually went a little closer to the edge probably than I should have, but I want to try to get as much pumpkin as I could out of it. And like I said, once I lay my grooves in there, my pumpkin grooves in there, you won't even pretty much be able to tell. and the way it sits too, you'll be looking at it from the front. Okay, all right, so let's move on the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this apart, and I'm not going to show you cleaning the whole thing out because that takes a little while, but I am going to show you how I went about cleaning it out, just so you can work on yours. Let's find my pencil. Okay, so I'm gonna stay on the inside of my pegs, and I'm just gonna draw me a border line, and this is gonna give me, make sure I'm in the camera here, this is gonna give me edges to glue it together. And then once I start cutting out the face, I'll be able to tell how much more I need to come out. If I can leave the pegs, I'm going to try to leave the pegs, because that'll just help hold it together when I glue it. But I'm just going to put a little border line right here, so it shows me not to go any further than that. Okay, and then up at the top, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to probably just come across here where the hat is, because again, I'm not going all the way through, so it's not really going to matter as long as I got glue up in here, and glue down these sides. It'll be plenty to hold it together. So do that, and I'll do it on both sides, so I know I got the same amount to glue it together. And basically you're just creating a cavity for the light inside. And another thing is when you go to paint it, now what I did was I took and sprayed the inside with black, because once I put the light in there, I realized that the light wasn't reflecting as much off the bare wood as it would if I put a color in there. So, you know, I think you can put pretty much any color in there that you want, that's going to help reflect the light. I went with black just because my little tea light was kind of a yellow color. So I went with black on the inside. And you should probably paint the inside before you glue it together. So just once you got this all cleaned out in here, go ahead and paint the inside before you glue it together, and we'll do a whole painting video. But what I ended up doing was, once I had mine glued together and I seen that the light wasn't showing through enough, what I did was I just took my airbrush and sprayed my airbrush all on the inside and airbrushed it all on the inside black. And, I was thinking about trying a purple. I don't know really how that's going to turn out, but once I did the black, I knew the black was the right choice. So depending on what you decide you want to do, that's totally up to you. But you know, again, it's just all your preference. But I know most of you don't have an airbrush, so you definitely want to paint that inside before you glue it together, because it'll be a little tricky getting it all painted up inside there. So this is one way you can take it out. Just start cutting it out here with your knife. You can cut it out, especially if you don't have any of these other tools. Now, I used a couple different tools. I used, first off, to take the most of it out, I used, let's see, should have had that ready to go. I used my Beavercraft hook knife, and it worked really good on the piece of wood that I was using. I'm trying to go slow because I don't want to chunk a big piece off like that. So you can use a hook knife if you got a hook knife. That's one way to quickly clean it out. You can get a bunch out of there with the hook knife. So cleans it out really nice. Once you get the right grain going, you can just use that and just start rolling it out. Worked really good for me, but I wanted to try a couple other things just because I know everybody won't have a hook knife. So I wanted to find a couple other tools that would work for you. So let me show you a couple of those. The other thing I used was on my beaver craft, or on my carving jack here. I have a spoon scoop. So that worked out really good too. So if you have one of these, you can use that. Spoon carving tool. Any kind of spoon carving tool will work. And again, don't get too carried away. Look, I only have that much wood right there. So I'm really not a lot I have to take out right there. It's mostly going to be on these sides and up here on the top. You want to open the top cavity up a little bit so the light reflects off the top when it's glued together and comes back down. So if you got some kind of a spoon carving tool or something, you can do that. Or finally, if you have any gouges, gouges work really good. This is a number, what is this, a number 11? Yeah, this is a number 11. So you can get that in there. And this don't even have to look pretty, because you're going to paint it black anyway, and you're going to glue it up inside there. So gouges work really good for getting it out. Let's see. V-tool. Here's a bigger gouge. This one is a number 9. A number 9. You can really get in there and get some out. I'm being careful because, like I said, I did mine up against my body, so it's kind of wild with this gouge carving away from me like this, but that works good. So if you got one of those, you can use that to get it all cleaned out. Just work it up to your line. Then you can take your knife and chuck off these chips. Okay. Just use your knife and just roll it. Let's see what else you use. You can use here's a number 8. Oh, sorry, is that 3? Number 3. Number 3 worked real good. Now I like to use the 3 when I only have to take a little bit off left to go. Because I'm going to show you in just a second how I come through it. And I'll show you in just one spot. So with this number 3, I can take less off it at one time. So that's where, when I'm getting close, like over here, I'm going to really have to come a little deeper to get through with my facial, with my jack-o'-lantern face. So and I'm kind of doing this down and dirty to make it quick for you, so I don't want you to have to sit here. Trust me, these pumpkins take a little time to put your time into them, and that's why I'm not sitting here doing the whole thing on camera, because it would probably be like a 5-hour video. I don't think nobody wants to sit here and watch me for 5 hours. So there you go. All right, so do the same thing on this side too. And I'll bring you back before I glue it all together and show you how my whole thing looks on the inside. Okay, so you can see that we have, let me find my knife, that we have all the way up to here. All the way up to here where we got to come through. So you can see I got to take a bunch more off right here. But let's go down here, and I wanted to show you a couple things about taking this inside out that I learned. For one, leave this little nose piece till last. Because on my other one, I had a little bigger nose, and you can even make a little bigger nose. I might make a little bigger nose on this one after all, just because it seems looks like it's a little small, and it's not gonna probably show up much light through there. Okay, but my point is, leave this little nose till last, because on my other one, when I come up here, I had cut the nose out already. Cut the nose out first. Then I went down here working around on the mouth, and I ended up snapping that little piece out right there between the nose and where the teeth go together. So I ended up having to super glue that back in together, and luckily I found the little piece when it popped out, that I was lucky enough to have it, that I could glue it right back in there. But leave this nose hole till last, and that way you'll just have to be careful on three little triangles here, and not have to worry about, when you're cutting all this out, breaking it off up there. So cut the mouth out first, cut the eyes out first, and the way I did mine was I just kept cutting down through, and then I would see where I'm at, and I'd see I have to take a lot more off right there, so I'll go ahead and take some more off, and you just kind of work from both sides of the piece until you get down to where your knife will push enough through there that you can see it. Okay, and be careful, because this is it's kind of tricky cutting this out of here, but you can get it out of there, and then you can also cut down from here and just take it out in small little sections, like from the teeth right here. Take out this little piece and just work that little piece till you get it all the way through, if you want to avoid breaking anything off. Okay, so that's kind of my tips to you on this from my experience with it. I just keep working my knife through, and I took it off in little pieces. Because once I got a piece of it out of there, the rest of it was pretty, I'm not going to say easy, but it was better because I could see where I was on the backside, on the inside. Because you don't want to get it too thin. It'll be breaking apart on you. You just want to get it thin enough back here that the piece of your mouth comes through. So I can go back in here, and I know my mouth comes all the way up to here. And use your fingers, as you can feel about how thick you are. Use your fingers to kind of as a gauge. And now I know up here I got to take a bunch out to get to that mouth. So take it out and just do it a little bit at a time. Take your time and do it a little bit at a time, and you'll get really good results out of it. That's what I did on the first one. Was just took my time, took a little bit of it out at a time. Right here on the bottoms, okay? If you want to take a little more out to be able to get up in there like this, that's okay. You got a lot of wood right here. And it's not going to affect anything as far as your candle light goes, your little tea light, because you can move that around in there a little bit. So yeah, I'm just gonna hollow this dude down, and like I said, be careful. You don't want to spend all that time like I just did, cutting this all out, getting it all shaped up, and then bust through the other side. So this is really kind of the critical point of your piece right here. As you can see, I'm gonna have to go way back in here. I'm gonna have to go way back in here to get to where the tip of my mouth is. But I'm just gonna gradually work my way through. I'll work this out, work these pieces out, and then I'll just keep working my way up until I get each piece out. That's just my suggestions to you. This is the critical side. This side doesn't have to be as critical. All you got to do is just hollow that out somewhat so that so that you can have some room in there for the light to reflect and give it a little depth. It makes it, look like it's got some depth in there when you get this out. So again, for this one, you can just hollow it back to your little lines there and call it done, because you already have room for your candle in there, or for your light. Don't use a candle. Sorry, I didn't mean to tell you that. But your tea light is what I should be saying. Your little tea light. Hollow this back until you got a little cavity in there that the light can reflect and create a little depth. That's all you need back here on the back side. Because you can see I still got to do some more rounding back here, so I don't want to take a lot out. As you can see that, I still got it kind of flat, so I don't want to take a lot out, and I don't need to take a lot out. I just need to create an empty cavity in there a little bit. So, all right, let's go back to the first one. Let's get through a little bit so you can see me getting through it. But again, just if you got a little detail knife, use your little detail knife. Just keep pushing your way through, and I push it through. There's my knife tip. Hopefully you can see that on camera. Once I see my knife tip coming through, now I know. The other thing is, don't wedge on it back and forth this way or the other, because you're just gonna chip it all up, and it's just gonna look not gonna look good when you get done. Just take your time and just keep, kind of like chip cutting. I'm just gonna keep cutting that. And I'm just gonna take just a little bit off the inside right here. And just basically like you're carving out the inside of a pumpkin. Okay, that's pretty thin. I've got that pretty thin right now, right in there. So I don't really want to take too much more out. And be careful, because I did nick myself a little bit. Once I get through, I can push through and see my knife. Don't have your finger back here, because if your tip comes through, it'll get you. I'm just going to work on this and work on this until I get this little piece out. Push it through. Same way here. Push it through until you see it come through and you know you're there. Push it through. See how I got my hand kind of cupped? Well, I'm holding back here, so I don't want my hand up here real tight and push that blade through into my hand. Okay? And there's the chip. Come right out. Okay, now I can go back and just clean that up a little bit and get it through there. And it's almost something you have to have up close to take a look at without having a camera in front of you, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start on the next little chip. Work my way through. Again, I want to leave as much wood on the inside as I can, just to give it a little more strength. I don't want to cut too much away that I don't and that I end up breaking it off. Okay, so take out just what you need to. In the areas that you need to, and you'll be fine. Big thing I'm just gonna say is take your time. Just take your time. This is the one critical part of the whole project right here, is getting this mouth hollowed out of there without busting it all out. So take your time. Just keep making cuts. Making cuts. Making cuts. If you want to get a sturdier knife, a longer blade, get you a sturdier, longer blade. Just be aware that a longer blade, you do have a better chance of breaking it off. So if you have a little detail knife, just use your little detail knife and just keep working these through till you get them deep enough. And do them in pieces. And just keep going back over it. This one I'm doing is kind of a little skinny mouth, so it won't hurt nothing if I end up making it a little bigger. It's not going to hurt nothing. The other one was kind of wide. It was a little more wide, so I had a little more room to work with. But look, I can just keep taking those little layers out. Take it out in layers. See? The main thing is you just don't want a bunch of cuts in here. It's just going to make it look real rough when you paint it. All that's going to show up. It's going to be hard to clean up. And if you do have to, you're going to end up having, making it bigger, and there's a chance you end up taking away from the shape of it. So just cut straight through. All this is coming out anyway, so it's not going to hurt nothing. Okay, now I come back here. You can see I got this much. This is where my tip of my mouth is, and I'm lining up my fingers. So I got a lot of wood right there that I can take out yet to come through. So let me get this gouge. I'm going to lay it down. I'm just going to roll it this way. I'm going to turn it this way. Do some and then check it again. Turn your gouts the other way and then come in from this side. Just remember, you're real thin right here, so you don't want to take out any more when you're coming. So go from your thin edge and work your way up to it, so you don't cut through right here. I think you guys kind of get the idea. Like I said, don't worry if it looks a little rough. You can always come in back in with a tool. Clean it up. Don't pry. Don't pry on it. And keep checking it. Put your fingers where you are, and that way you can kind of feel where you got to go. Like right up here in these corners of this eye, I got to go pretty deep yet still. Okay, so just keep Keep taking your tool and keep getting there gradually. I don't know what got me, but I think I just opened up a crack. Opened up one I already had earlier. Let me get a little piece of stuff so I don't get blood all over my piece. There you go. I love this stuff. If you're not using this stuff, it's elastic, flexible. It's like sports tape almost, but it's sticky. It sticks to itself. You don't even really need tape. So after a while, it starts coming loose. You could still put a piece of tape around it, but this stuff's cheap, and it's kind of the best stuff for protecting your thumb. I know I don't wear them in the videos, but I do wear it a lot when I'm doing a lot of carving, just because, like, when you're pressing on stuff, it's not only the knife that hurts if you cut yourself, but it's just the constant pressure on your hand and your thumbs that really makes it, gives you a little padding. Okay, let's see if we can get a little more of this out now. Till we see some daylight. This is the one thing, if you bust through it where you don't want to, that's the one area you can't hardly glue back in. And you'll be starting all over with your piece. So, like I said, take your time with this. This is one of the critical points of the whole carving right here, is getting this, the jack-o'-lantern eyes and nose and mouth cut out. Okay, we're getting there. Almost through. I can start to feel it coming through a little bit. And there we go, we're through. Okay, all right, so that's that, guys. I'm not going to make you suffer through me getting all the way through this. I'll bring you back once I got it all cleaned out, got all the pieces cleaned out, and we'll be ready to glue this dude up and put the finishing touches on it. So hang with me and I'll bring you back.